The morning sun cast long shadows across the golden wheat fields of Haven Prime. Linda Martinez stood on the observation deck of the colony's main building, watching the farmers begin their daily work. The sight always filled her with pride. 5 years ago, this planet had been nothing but rocks and dust. Now it fed 3 other human worlds. "Beautiful morning, isn't it?" said Jake Morrison as he joined her on the deck. The defense coordinator looked tired. He had been working late again, trying to fix their old patrol ships with spare parts that never seemed to arrive on time. "Every morning is beautiful here," Linda replied with a smile. "Hard to believe we've built all this from nothing." Haven Prime was home to 50,000 people. Most were farmers like Pete Anderson, who was already out in the fields with his 2 young sons. Others worked in the research labs, like Dr. Amy Sullivan, who spent her days finding new ways to grow food in the planet's soil. The colony had schools, hospitals, shops, and even a small theater where kids like 10-year-old Danny Rogers performed plays for their families. Linda checked her watch. In a few hours, she would meet with the school board to discuss plans for a new elementary school. The colony's population was growing and more families were having children. It was a good problem to have. "Governor Martinez," came a voice from behind them. Chris Parker, the colony's main communications officer, approached with a worried look on his face. "We're getting some strange readings on the long-range sensors." Linda turned to face him. "What kind of readings?" "Multiple large objects moving toward our system. They're still far out, but they're big." "Really big," Jake frowned. "How big are we talking about?" "Bigger than anything in our shipping schedules. And they're moving fast." The 3 of them hurried inside to the communications center. The room was filled with screens showing data from the colony's defense systems. What they saw made Linda's stomach drop. "Those aren't cargo ships," Jake said quietly on the main screen. Dozens of red dots moved steadily toward Haven Prime. The computer estimated their arrival time at just under 2 hours. The ships were massive, each one larger than the colony's biggest buildings. "Try to contact them," Linda ordered. "Maybe they're just passing through." Chris worked at his console, sending standard greeting messages on all frequencies. Minutes passed with no response. Then, suddenly, the alien ships sent their own message. The voice that came through the speakers was cold and harsh. It spoke in broken human language as if the words were difficult to pronounce. "Weak humans of Haven Prime, you have built on this world. You have made it soft with your crops and your buildings. Weakness cannot be allowed to exist. The strong must remove the weak. We are Kethver. We are strong. You will be removed." Linda felt her heart race. "This has to be some kind of mistake. Send a message back. Tell them we're just farmers. We're not a threat to anyone." Chris tried again and again, but the aliens did not respond to any more messages. On the screens, the red dots grew larger as they approached. "Jake, what do we have for defense?" Linda asked. Jake looked at the tactical display and shook his head. 3 patrol ships. They're 40 years old and barely working. We have some ground-based weapons, but they're meant for pirates, not a full invasion force. How long until they get here? 1 hour and 30 minutes. Linda grabbed the colony-wide communication system. Her voice echoed through every building, every farm, every street on Haven Prime. "This is Governor Martinez. All civilians must evacuate immediately. This is not a drill. Report to the emergency shelters or the transport ships at the spaceport. Move quickly but stay calm. Help your neighbors. Take only what you need." Throughout the colony, people dropped what they were doing and ran. Pete Anderson scooped up his sons and ran toward his truck. Dr. Amy Sullivan began evacuating patients from the hospital, starting with the children's ward. Families grabbed their most precious belongings and headed for the shelters, but there were not enough shelters. There were not enough transport ships. Haven Prime had never been built for war. Jake ran to the small defense control room where his 3 patrol ships were stationed. The pilots were already preparing for launch, but they all knew the truth. Their ships were old and weak compared to what was coming. "We can't stop them," said pilot Nancy Wilson as she checked her ship's systems, "but maybe we can slow them down. Give people more time to escape." "That's all we can do," Jake agreed. By time, the 3 human ships launched from Haven Prime. Just as the alien fleet dropped out of hyperspace, the HFY ships were massive and dark, covered in sharp angles and weapon ports. They looked like giant predators, built for one purpose: destruction. The human patrol ships fired their weapons at the nearest alien vessel. The shots bounced off harmlessly. In response, the HFY ship fired a single blast that vaporized all 3 human ships instantly. On the colony's surface, people watched in horror as bright flashes lit up the sky. The alien ships began to descend toward the planet. "They're targeting the hospital first," Chris reported. His voice shaking. Dr. Amy Sullivan was still inside the children's hospital, trying to evacuate the last group of young patients. She carried a crying baby in her arms while helping a boy with a broken leg walk toward the exit. Behind them, other staff members carried more children. "Almost there," she told the boy. "Just a few more steps." That's when the first blast hit. The hospital's east wing exploded in a ball of fire. The shockwave threw Amy and the children to the ground. She covered the baby with her body as debris rained down around them. "Get up, we have to move," she shouted to the other staff members, but the HFY ships were not finished. They fired again and again, targeting the hospital's main building, the emergency shelters, and the residential areas where families lived. In the communication center, Linda watched helplessly as her colony burned. The screens showed alien soldiers landing and moving through the streets, firing at anyone they saw. "We have to send a distress signal," she told Chris. "Someone needs to know what happened here." Chris worked frantically at his console. "The main transmitter is damaged, but I can boost the emergency beacon. It might reach the nearest human worlds." "Do it." Chris began recording the message as explosions shook the building around them. "This is Haven Prime calling any human forces. We are under attack by an alien species called the HFY. They are destroying everything, killing everyone. 50,000 civilians need immediate help. Please, if anyone can hear this, we need help." Another explosion, much closer this time. The lights flickered and went out. Emergency power kicked in, casting everything in red light. "The message is sent," Chris said, "but I don't know if it got through." Linda looked at the screens one last time. The colony she had spent 5 years building was gone. The wheat fields were burning. The schools were destroyed. The people she had sworn to protect were running for their lives. "Governor, we need to go," Jake said, appearing in the doorway. "The aliens are moving this way." But Linda knew there was nowhere to go. The transport ships had been destroyed. The shelters were burning. The HFY had come to Haven Prime to prove a point about strength and weakness. As they prepared to leave the building, Linda could hear the sound of alien weapons getting closer. She thought about little Danny Rogers and his school plays. She thought about Pete Anderson and his sons. She thought about Dr. Amy Sullivan and all the children she had tried to save. The distress signal was traveling through space now, carrying news of Haven Prime's destruction to anyone who might listen. It would take days to reach the nearest human world. By then, it would be too late for the people of Haven Prime, but maybe, just maybe, someone would hear their call for help. Someone would know what the HFY had done to innocent people. Someone would remember that 50,000 human beings had lived and died on this small farming world. The last thing Linda Martinez saw before the aliens found them was the smoke rising from her colony's ruins, dark against the morning sky. 3 days after Haven Prime died, the distress signal reached Earth. Admiral Karen Walsh was drinking her morning coffee in the Naval Command Center when the message arrived. The building sat high in the Swiss mountains, its walls lined with screens showing the positions of every human ship in known space. It was early morning, and most of the night shift was getting ready to go home. "Admiral," called Lieutenant Bobby Chun from the communications desk, "we have an emergency transmission from the outer colonies." Karen set down her coffee cup and walked over to the young officer's station. "What kind of emergency?" "It's from Haven Prime, ma'am." "The signal is badly damaged, but it sounds serious." Karen had never heard of Haven Prime, but that was not unusual. Humanity had spread to hundreds of worlds over the past century. Many were small farming colonies or research stations that rarely made contact with Earth unless they needed supplies. Play it, she ordered. The speakers crackled with static. Then Chris Parker's voice came through, broken and desperate. This is Haven Prime calling any human forces. We are under attack by an alien species called the HFY. They are destroying everything, killing everyone. 50,000 civilians need immediate help. Please, if anyone can hear this, we need help. The message repeated twice more before cutting to silence. The communications room fell quiet. Karen felt her stomach tighten. 50,000 people. An entire colony under attack. When was this sent? She asked. 3 days ago, ma'am. It took this long to reach us. 3 days. Karen closed her eyes for a moment. If the colony had been under attack 3 days ago, it was probably too late to help them. But they had to try. Get me everything we have on Haven Prime, she ordered. Ship positions, defense capabilities, population records. I want to know everything about this colony in 10 minutes. Yes, ma'am. Karen walked to her office and activated the secure communication system. She needed to call people who could make decisions. Big decisions. Within an hour, the emergency meeting room in the basement of the command center was full. President Robert Hayes sat at the head of the table, his face grim. Around him were the most powerful people in human space: generals, admirals, intelligence officers, and politicians. Show them the message, Karen said to her aide. The recording played again. This time, they also had the visual data that had been attached to the signal. The screen showed Haven Prime as it burned. Alien ships firing on hospitals and schools. Families running through the streets as buildings exploded around them. Dear God, whispered Defense Secretary Mary Johnson. They're targeting civilians. Intelligence. Officer Lisa Harper stood up and activated a holographic display. We've gathered what information we can about this attack. Haven Prime was a farming colony in the Outer Rim. Population of 50,000, mostly civilians. Their defense force consisted of 3 old patrol ships. What about these aliens? Asked General Paul Rogers, the HFY. We've never heard of them before, Lisa admitted. But based on the ship designs we can see in the footage, they're definitely not from any known species. Their technology appears to be advanced, possibly more advanced than ours. President Hayes leaned forward. What's the current status of Haven Prime? Unknown, sir. We've sent 3 scout ships to investigate, but they won't reach the system. For another 2 days, Captain Steve Johnson raised his hand. Sir, with respect, it doesn't matter what the current status is. These aliens attacked 50,000 innocent people. They targeted hospitals and schools. That's not warfare, that's murder. We need to be careful, said Senator Helen Davis. We don't know why they attacked. Maybe there was a misunderstanding. Maybe we can negotiate? Steve stood up, his voice rising. Did you see those images? They were executing children. What exactly do you want to negotiate about? Captain Johnson, please sit down, President Hayes said firmly. Senator Davis, I understand your concerns about rushing into conflict. But we need to consider all our options. Karen activated another display. Mr. President, we've been monitoring long-range communications from the outer colonies. In the past 6 hours, we've received 2 more distress signals. The room fell silent. New Dakota and Riverside Station. Both colonies report attacks by the same aliens. The patterns are identical. They target civilian areas first, then destroy everything else. She switched to another screen showing colony data. New Dakota had 25,000 people. Riverside Station had 15,000, all civilians, all defenseless. President Hayes rubbed his temples. How many people are we talking about? In total, 90,000 confirmed dead or missing, sir. And if these aliens continue their pattern, every outer colony is at risk. That's over 2 million people. The weight of those numbers settled over the room like a heavy blanket. 2 million people. Farmers, teachers, doctors, children, all living on worlds that had no real defenses. What can we do? Asked the President. Karen stood up. We mobilized the fleet, sir. All of it. All of it? Senator Davis looked shocked. That would leave Earth defenseless. Earth has planetary defense systems, Karen replied. The outer colonies have nothing. And if we don't stop these aliens now, they'll keep killing until there's nothing left to defend. General Rogers nodded. I agree with the Admiral. We've never faced anything like this before. An enemy that deliberately targets civilians, we need to respond with overwhelming force. What about diplomacy? Asked Senator Davis. Maybe we can? Find a peaceful solution, Captain Johnson laughed bitterly. Senator, they opened fire on a children's hospital. What kind of peace do you think they're interested in? President Hayes was quiet for a long moment, staring at the images from Haven Prime. Finally, he spoke. Admiral Walsh, how long would it take to mobilize the full fleet? 72 hours, sir. But we'd need authorization to pull ships from every sector. You have it. The president's voice was firm. Whatever these aliens want, whatever their reasons, they crossed a line when they started murdering innocent people. We're going to stop them, Senator Davis tried to object. Mr. President, this could start a war. Senator, the president replied, the war already started. We just didn't know it yet. Karen felt a surge of relief. Thank you, sir. I'll begin mobilization immediately. Admiral, the president continued, I want you to understand something. This isn't just about revenge. This is about sending a message to every hostile species in the galaxy. Humanity protects its own. And if you hurt innocent people, we will find you and we will stop you. As the meeting broke up, Karen walked back to the command center. Already her staff was working to contact every human ship in space. The recall order would go out within the hour. She thought about the message from Haven Prime, Chris Parker's desperate voice calling for help. By the time the fleet reached the outer colonies, it would be too late to save those people. But maybe they could prevent it from happening again. Captain Johnson approached her. Admiral, I have a request. What is it, Captain? I want to volunteer my ship and crew for the mission, the USS Retribution. We've been doing patrol duty for 2 years. My crew is ready for real action. Karen looked at the young captain. He was angry. She could see it in his eyes. Angry at the aliens who had killed innocent people. Angry at the politicians who wanted to negotiate with murderers. Request approved, Captain. But understand, this won't be like anything we've done before. We're not going to arrest these aliens or capture their ships. We're going to stop them, permanently. I understand, ma'am. My crew understands. Karen walked to the main display showing the positions of human ships across the galaxy. Soon, all of those ships would be moving toward one destination. The largest human fleet ever assembled. She thought about the families on Haven Prime, the children who had been playing in the wheat fields just days before. The doctors and teachers and farmers who had done nothing wrong except try to build a better life on a distant world. The aliens had made a mistake. They had shown humanity what they were capable of. Now humanity was going to show them what humans were capable of when innocent people were threatened. The recall order went out. Across the galaxy, every human ship, every trained crew, every weapon in the fleet, they were all coming home to Earth, and then they were going hunting. The space around Earth had never seen anything like it. Within hours of the President's order, ships began arriving from every corner of human space. They came from the inner colonies, from patrol routes along the frontier, from escort missions protecting cargo ships. Every human vessel that could fight was heading home. Lieutenant Commander Paul Rogers stood on the observation deck of the USS Vengeance, watching the fleet assemble. The massive battleship was over 1 kilometer long, its hull covered in weapon systems and armor plating. It was the flagship of Earth's Defense Force, and now it would lead humanity's largest military operation. Have you ever seen so many ships in one place? Asked his second-in-command, Lieutenant Susan Clark. Paul shook his head. Never. Look at them all. The space around Earth was filled with hundreds of vessels. Massive battleships like the Vengeance floated alongside smaller destroyers and cruisers. Carrier ships launched squadrons of fighters that formed protective formations around the larger vessels. Supply ships moved between them, transferring ammunition, fuel, and food. The count is up to 347 ships, reported Communications Officer Danny Wells from the bridge. More are still arriving. Pohl had been in the Navy for 15 years, but he had never imagined a fleet this large. Earth's military had grown over the decades, but it had always been spread thin across human space. Now, for the first time, it was all in one place, on the bridge of the USS Vengeance. Admiral Karen Walsh studied the tactical displays. Each ship was represented by a blue dot on her screens, and there were so many dots it looked like a star. "Field, Admiral," said Captain Nick Davis, approaching from the communications station. "We've got the final numbers. 352 combat vessels, plus support ships. Total crew count is just over 2 million people." Karen nodded. 2 million people, all volunteers who had answered the call to defend innocent civilians. Many of them had never seen real combat before, but they were ready to fight. "What about the Marines?" she asked. "Colonel Frank Miller reports 100,000 troops ready for deployment. They're spread across the troop ships and ready for ground operations if needed." Karen looked at the display again. It was an impressive force, but she wondered if it would be enough. The aliens had destroyed 3 human colonies without losing a single ship. Their technology might be superior to humanity's. "Captain Davis, I want you to coordinate with the other carrier commanders. Make sure our fighter squadrons are ready for immediate deployment." "Yes, ma'am." Across the fleet, similar conversations were taking place. On the destroyer USS Liberty, Captain Beth Taylor briefed her crew on what they knew about the enemy. The information was limited, but the images from Haven Prime told them everything they needed to know. "These aliens don't fight like we do," she told her officers. "They don't try to disable enemy ships or capture territory. They destroy everything. Every ship, every building, every person." Lieutenant Commander Gary Brown raised his hand. "Captain, what are our rules of engagement?" Beth looked at the young officer. "The same rules they used on Haven Prime, no mercy for anyone who targets civilians." In the fighter bays, pilots like Lieutenant Susan Clark prepared their small but deadly spacecraft. The fighters were fast and agile, designed to protect the larger ships from enemy attack. Susan had been flying for 3 years, but she had never faced an enemy like this. "Remember," said Squadron Leader Tim Wilson during the pre-flight briefing, "our job is to protect the fleet and provide support for ground operations. These aliens have shown they're willing to kill anyone, including children. We can't let them do that to more colonies." The pilots nodded grimly. They had all seen the footage from Haven Prime, the burning hospitals, the destroyed schools, the families running through the streets. It was enough to make anyone angry. Meanwhile, in the Marine barracks, Colonel Frank Miller addressed his troops. The Marines were tough, experienced fighters who had served in conflicts across human space. But this was different from anything they had done before. "Listen up," Miller said to the assembled soldiers. "We're not going to war against another human nation. We're not fighting over territory or resources. We're fighting against something that sees human life as worthless." The Marines listened in silence. Many of them had families on the outer colonies. They understood what was at stake. "The aliens think we're weak because we protect innocent people," Miller continued. "They think we're soft because we don't kill civilians. They're about to learn that protecting the innocent is what makes us strong." Sergeant Helen Foster stood up. "Sir, what can we expect from the enemy? Based on what we know, they're physically strong and well-armed, but they're used to fighting defenseless colonies. They've never faced a real military force. We're going to show them what happens when they pick on someone who can fight back." As the fleet prepared to depart, news continued to arrive from the outer colonies. The aliens had struck again, this time hitting the research station at Newton's World. 12,000 scientists and their families were missing. Presumably dead, the pattern was always the same. The aliens would arrive without warning, destroy everything, and leave. They took no prisoners, negotiated no treaties, and left no survivors to tell what happened. "It's like they're testing us," said Intelligence Officer Lisa Harper during a briefing with the fleet commanders. They're hitting our weakest targets? First seeing how we respond? Well, now they'll see how we respond, replied Captain Steve Johnson from the USS Retribution. His ship was one of the older battleships in the fleet, but it was still formidable. They want to see human strength? We'll show them human strength. The final preparations took place in an atmosphere of grim determination. Supply officers like Lieutenant Mary Chun worked around the clock to ensure every ship had enough ammunition and food for a long campaign. Medical officers prepared for casualties, hoping they wouldn't be needed but knowing they probably would be. Dr. Andy Clark, the chief medical officer for the fleet, had set up emergency hospitals on several of the larger ships. We don't know what kind of weapons these aliens use, he told his staff. Be prepared for anything. As the last ships arrived and took their positions, Admiral Walsh called a final meeting of all ship captains. The briefing room on the Vengeance was packed, with commanders from across the fleet. We're about to embark on the largest military operation in human history, she told them. Our mission is simple. Find the aliens who attacked our colonies and stop them from doing it again. Captain Johnson raised his hand. Admiral, what if we encounter alien civilian populations? We protect them, Walsh replied without hesitation. We're not like the enemy. We don't target innocent people, no matter what species they belong to. Our fight is with the Kethver military, not with alien families. The captains nodded. It was what they had expected to hear, but it was good to have it confirmed. Remember, Walsh continued, we're not just fighting for revenge. We're fighting to protect every human colony in space. The aliens think they can murder our people without consequences. They're wrong. As the meeting ended, the fleet began its final preparations for departure. The journey to the outer colonies would take weeks, but once they arrived, the real work would begin. On the bridge of the Vengeance, Walsh watched the tactical display one last time. 352 ships, 2 million crew members, all united in a single purpose. The aliens had awakened something they didn't understand. Humanity's protective instinct. All ships report ready for departure, announced Captain Davis. Signal the fleet, Walsh ordered. We're going to war. The largest human fleet in history jumped to hyperspace, carrying with it the hopes and anger of an entire species. The aliens had targeted the Helpless, thinking it would show human weakness. Instead, they had provoked humanity's greatest strength, the willingness to fight. For those who could not fight for themselves, the hunt was about to begin. The human fleet dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of Kethver territory like a storm arriving without warning. Admiral Karen Walsh stood on the bridge of the USS Vengeance, watching the tactical displays as her ship spread into attack formation. They were deep in alien space now, far from any human world. This was enemy territory and they were hunting. All ships report ready, Admiral, said Captain Nick Davis. Stealth systems are active, Karen nodded. The fleet had spent 2 weeks traveling to reach this point. During the journey, they had received more bad news from home. The aliens had destroyed 4 more colonies, killing another 60,000 people. Each report made the crew angrier and more determined. Begin the scan, Karen ordered. I want to know everything about this system. The human ships used advanced sensors to map the alien system without being detected. What they found surprised them. The system was full of industrial facilities, mines, factories, and shipyards. This was not a military base. It was a place where the aliens built their war machines. Admiral, reported Intelligence Officer Lisa Harper, we're detecting slave labor camps on 3 planets. The prisoners appear to be from multiple species, including humans. Karen felt her jaw tighten. Humans? From which colonies? Unknown, ma'am. But the energy signatures match human life signs. Captain Steve Johnson's voice came over the communication system from the USS Retribution. Admiral, request permission to begin rescue operations. Not yet, Captain. We need to secure the system first. Karen turned to her tactical officer. What? Are the alien defenses? 37 warships, ma'am. Various sizes. They appear to be older models, probably used for patrol duty. Karen smiled grimly. The aliens had gotten used to attacking defenseless colonies. They were not prepared for a real fight. "Signal the fleet," she ordered. "Begin Operation Thunderstrike." The attack began with the destroyers. Ships like the USS Liberty, commanded by Captain Beth Taylor, moved in fast and silent. Their job was to destroy the alien communication systems. Before the enemy could call for help, Beth watched her tactical display as her ship approached the main communication station. The aliens had built it on a large asteroid, probably thinking it was safe from attack. "Weapons ready, Captain," reported Lieutenant Gary Brown. "Fire!" The Liberty's main guns opened fire, sending streams of energy across space. The alien station exploded in seconds, its debris spinning away into the darkness. "Direct hit," Brown reported. "Communication station destroyed?" Across the system, other human ships were hitting similar targets. Within minutes, the aliens were cut off from the rest of their empire. They could not call for help or warn other systems about the human attack. Next came the stealth ships. "Commander." Rachel Brown led a squadron of specially designed vessels that could move without being detected. Their mission was to disable the alien orbital defenses before the main fleet arrived. "Target the defense platforms," Rachel ordered her pilots. "Remember, we want to take them out quietly." The stealth ships moved like ghosts through space, launching special missiles that destroyed the alien weapons without making noise or light. The enemy defenses simply stopped working, one by one, on the alien command ship. War leader Jektar stared at his displays in confusion. His communication systems were down. His defense platforms were not responding, and his sensors showed nothing. "What is happening?" he demanded of his officers. "Unknown, War Leader," replied his tactical officer. "All systems were working normally, then they just stopped." Jektar had been in command of this system for 5 years. It was a quiet posting, far from any real fighting. The humans they had been attacking were weak and defenseless. "There should be no threats here. Send patrol ships to investigate," he ordered, but as soon as the alien patrol ships left their stations, they were destroyed by human fighters. Lieutenant Susan Clark led her squadron in a series of quick attacks, destroying 6 alien ships before they could even fire their weapons. "Enemy patrols eliminated," she reported to the fleet command. "No survivors." The main attack began when the human battleships arrived. The USS Vengeance led the charge, followed by dozens of other massive warships. Their sudden appearance caught the remaining alien ships completely by surprise. "All ships, open fire," Admiral Walsh ordered. The space battle was brutal but short. The alien ships were designed for attacking colonies, not fighting other warships. The human fleet, on the other hand, had been built for war. The aliens were outnumbered, outgunned, and completely unprepared. Captain Tom Wilson commanded the cruiser USS Thunder, one of the newer ships in the fleet. His crew had trained for years for a battle like this, and they performed perfectly. "Target their engines first," Wilson ordered. "Disable them. Don't destroy them. We need prisoners." The Thunder's weapons fired with precision, crippling alien ships without destroying them completely. Other human ships did the same, following the Admiral's orders to capture enemy vessels when possible. Within an hour, the battle was over. Every alien warship was either destroyed or captured. The human fleet had not lost a single vessel. "Admiral," reported Captain Davis, "the system is secured. All alien military forces have been neutralized." "Excellent. Begin rescue operations immediately." Marine Colonel Frank Miller had been waiting for this moment. His troops loaded into transport ships and headed for the slave labor camps that the sensors had detected. "Remember," Miller told his Marines as they prepared to land, "we're here to rescue prisoners, not to take revenge. Protect the innocent, eliminate any guards who resist." The first camp was on a mining planet called Terminus 7, as the human. Transports landed. They found thousands of prisoners from dozens of different species. Many were humans from the destroyed colonies. Sergeant Helen Foster led her squad into the main prison building. Inside, they found creatures that looked like walking lizards with weapons, guarding cells full of prisoners. "Surrender," Foster shouted at the guards. The alien guards raised their weapons instead. The firefight was brief. The Marines were better trained and better equipped than the prison guards. "Area secure," Foster reported, beginning prisoner evacuation. Among the rescued prisoners was Dr. Andy Clark, one of the few survivors from Haven Prime. He was thin and weak from months of forced labor, but he was alive. "Dr. Clark?" asked Sergeant Foster as she helped him out of his cell. "Yes," he replied weakly. "How did you find us?" "The whole human fleet is here, sir. We're going to get you home." Dr. Clark began to cry. "I thought everyone had forgotten about us. I thought no one was coming." "Never," Foster said firmly. "Humanity never abandons its own." As the rescue operations continued, the humans discovered the full extent of the alien slave system. The Kethver had been capturing survivors from their raids and forcing them to work in the mines and factories. Some prisoners had been there for years, but the humans also discovered something else: records of other alien species that had been destroyed by the Kethver. The aliens had been doing this for decades, wiping out entire civilizations and enslaving the survivors. "Admiral," reported Captain Johnson after reviewing the captured data, "the Kethver have destroyed over 40 different species. We're not their first victims." Karen felt sick as she read the reports. 40 civilizations, millions of innocent beings, all destroyed because the Kethver believed only the strong deserved to survive. "How many other slave camps are there?" she asked. "Based on these records, at least 20 more systems, all using forced labor to build ships and weapons." Karen made her decision quickly. "Signal the fleet. We're not stopping here. We're going to free every prisoner and destroy every camp until there's nothing left of their slave system." The liberation of Terminus 7 was just the beginning. Over the next several weeks, the human fleet moved from system to system, destroying Kethver facilities and freeing prisoners. Each victory made them stronger, as more species joined the fight against their former captors. The aliens had made a terrible mistake. They had attacked humanity thinking it would be easy. Instead, they had awakened an enemy that would not stop. Until every innocent being was free and every war criminal was brought to justice, the hunt was far from over. The human fleet arrived at Cathara Prime like an unstoppable force of nature. Admiral Karen Walsh stood on the bridge of the USS Vengeance, looking at the alien homeworld through the main viewing screen. The planet was dark red with purple clouds, and it was surrounded by the largest concentration of enemy ships they had encountered yet. "Ship count?" she asked Captain Nick Davis. 215 enemy vessels, Admiral. Everything from small fighters to massive battleships. This is their entire remaining fleet, Karen nodded. Over the past month, the human fleet had destroyed dozens of Kethver facilities across their empire. They had freed over 500,000 prisoners from 23 different species. Each victory had brought them closer to this moment, the final battle at the alien homeworld. "Admiral," reported Communications Officer Danny Wells, "we're receiving a transmission from the planet. Put it through." The main screen changed to show a tall, reptilian creature with 4 arms and glowing red eyes. This was War Master Thekvar, the supreme leader of the Kethver Empire. His voice was deep and threatening. "Human fleet," he said in broken human language, "you have entered sacred Kethver space. You have destroyed our facilities and freed our workers. This cannot be allowed. We offer you one chance to surrender. Give us your ships, and your people will be allowed to serve the Empire." Karen stepped forward so the alien could see her clearly. "War Master Thekvar, I am Admiral Karen Walsh of the Human Defense Fleet. You have attacked our colonies. You have murdered innocent civilians, including children. You have enslaved the survivors of dozens of species. Your reign of terror ends." Today, the alien leader's eyes glowed brighter. "You speak of terror? You know nothing of true strength? The weak exist only to serve the strong. That is the natural order, the natural order." Karen felt anger rise in her chest. "You murdered 50,000 farmers on Haven Prime. You destroyed hospitals and schools. You killed children. That's not strength, that's cowardice." "Those humans were weak," Thekvar replied. Weakness must be removed from the galaxy. Only when all weak species are gone will there be peace. Karen took a deep breath. Then you have chosen war. Surrender now and your people will be treated fairly. Continue to resist and we will do what we must to stop you. Vekvar laughed, a harsh sound that made everyone on the bridge uncomfortable. You offer mercy? How weak you are. We will show you what real power looks like. The transmission ended. Karen turned to her tactical officer. Signal the fleet. All ships prepare for battle. The space around Cathara Prime erupted into the largest battle in galactic history. The alien fleet attacked first, their ships moving in aggressive patterns designed to overwhelm the human formation, but the humans were ready. Admiral Walsh had planned this battle carefully, using everything they had learned about Kethver tactics during their campaign across the Empire. Fighter squadrons, deploy. She ordered. Lieutenant Susan Clark led her squadron of fighters in a sweeping attack on the alien formations. The small human ships were faster and more maneuverable than anything the aliens had. Gold Squadron, focus on their command ships, she ordered over the radio. Take out their ability to coordinate. The fighters dove through the alien formation. Like deadly birds, their weapons destroying communication arrays and command centers. Within minutes, the alien fleet began to lose coordination. Captain Steve Johnson commanded the USS Retribution in the main battle line. His ship and others like it engaged the largest alien vessels in direct combat. Target their weapon systems, Johnson ordered. Disable them if possible. The Retribution's guns fired repeatedly, each shot calculated to cripple rather than destroy. The humans still hoped to end the battle with minimal casualties, even among their enemies, but the aliens showed no such restraint. They fired at everything, trying to destroy as many human ships as possible. Their weapons were powerful, but their tactics were crude compared to human military doctrine. Captain Beth Taylor's destroyer, USS Liberty, moved through the battle like a dancer, avoiding enemy fire while delivering precise strikes. Her crew had trained for years for moments like this. Captain, reported Lieutenant Gary Brown, 3 alien ships are attempting to ram us. Evasive maneuvers, Taylor ordered calmly. Return fire on my mark. The Liberty spun away from the charging alien ships and fired its weapons in a perfectly timed sequence. All 3 enemy vessels were destroyed before they could reach their target. The battle raged for 6 hours. The alien fleet fought with desperate fury, but they were outmatched. Human tactics, training, and technology proved superior. One by one, the Kethver ships were destroyed or disabled. Colonel Frank Miller watched the space battle from the Marine transport ships. His troops were ready to assault the planet if necessary, but he hoped it would not come to that. Sir, reported Sergeant Helen Foster, the alien fleet is collapsing. Most of their ships are destroyed or surrendering. Miller nodded. Prepare for a planetary assault, but wait for orders. The Admiral wants to try negotiation first. On the planet's surface, War Master Vekvar watched his fleet die. His advisors were panicking, suggesting surrender or escape. But Vekvar refused to accept defeat. Activate the planetary defenses, he ordered. If we cannot win, we will take as many humans with us as possible. Massive weapons emerged from the planet's surface, firing energy beams at the human fleet. Several ships were damaged, but none were destroyed. The humans had expected this and were prepared. Admiral, reported Captain Tom Wilson from the cruiser USS Thunder, planetary defenses are active. Requesting permission to suppress them. Karen considered her options. She could order a full bombardment of the planet, destroying the defenses and probably killing millions of alien civilians. Or she could try a more precise approach. Negative, Captain Wilson, we're not like them. We don't target civilian populations. Instead, Karen ordered surgical strikes on specific military targets. Human ships used precision weapons to destroy the defense installations without harming nearby cities. Within hours, the planet's defenses were silent. The alien fleet was destroyed. Cathara Prime was defenseless. Admiral, came a new transmission from the planet. This time it was a different alien, older and less aggressive than Vekvar. This is Council Elder Vector. We wish to discuss surrender terms. Where is War Master Thekvar? Karen asked. He has been removed from command. The council has voted to surrender before more lives are lost. Karen felt relief. Finally, the killing could stop. Very well. These are our terms? Complete surrender of all military forces. All war criminals will be tried for their crimes. All slave camps will be closed and prisoners freed. The Kethver Empire is dissolved. And what of our people? Asked the elder. What happens to ordinary Kethver citizens? Karen thought about Haven Prime, about the children who had died in the hospitals, about Dr. Amy Sullivan and all the innocent people who had been murdered. Your people will be protected, she said finally. We are not you. We don't kill civilians, even enemy civilians. But your empire's days of conquering and enslaving others are over forever. The formal surrender took place on the USS Vengeance. Elder Victor and the remaining Kethver leaders signed documents ending their empire and agreeing to war crimes trials. You could destroy us all, Victor said to Admiral Walsh after the ceremony. Why do you show mercy to those who showed none? To your people? Karen looked at the alien leader for a long moment. Because that's what makes us different from you. We protect the innocent even when there are enemies. That's not weakness. That's what makes us strong. 3 months later, Admiral Walsh stood in the rebuilt Memorial Garden on Haven Prime. The colony was being restored, and families were returning to the farms and schools. A monument in the center of the garden listed the names of all who had died in the alien attacks. Dr. Andy Clark, one of the rescued prisoners, approached her. Admiral, I wanted to thank you. Not just for rescuing us, but for how you ended the war. What do you mean? Karen asked. You could have destroyed their entire species. After what they did to our people, no one would have blamed you. But you chose justice over revenge. You chose to be better than them. Karen nodded, reading the names on the memorial. That's what those people died for, the right to live in peace, to build something good. If we had become like our enemies, their deaths would have meant nothing. As the sun set over the restored wheat fields of Haven Prime, Karen thought about the message the galaxy had received. Humanity would defend its own with overwhelming force, but it would never become the monster it fought against. The innocent were protected, justice was served, and the galaxy was a safer place because humans chose to be strong enough to show mercy.